All right, this section will cover 3 linear functions from My Open Math. All right, now I would like to continue to encourage you to always be watching the videos that go along with this as a complement to it, and also to remind you that at the end of each question there potentially exists a video that could help you, right? For example, like this one. All right, now let's go ahead and get started with some of these and find out what it is that they're looking for. All right, it says, so find the slope of the line passing through the points. Now, finding the slope, I have a unique way of doing it. Well, yes, you can be using the formula, and the formula being that m is equal to the difference between y sub 2 minus y sub 1, and then x sub 2 minus x sub 1, and then identifying each coordinate point as that value system, then you can go ahead and use that system anytime you wish. I am not personally going to use this because I'm going to have my own unique way of doing it that is in fact this formula, but it's just not mentioning, oh, y sub 2 minus y sub 1. I'm not going to do that with you. So what I do is identify the 2 points, all right, and then I have a procedural step that I give to students. Now, procedural step, meaning step by step, what I tell students is to change the signs to the second point. I always choose the second point. You could choose the first. It doesn't matter which one you choose. I always choose the second for whatever reason. You can go ahead and do whatever you want, but change the signs to either one. So I always change the sign to the second one, and then I go ahead, and since it's y, and this is always understood to be xy, all right, then just go ahead and add these together. Once you change the signs to one of them, add the y's together. You can do that mentally. All right, 6 added to -5 gives you 1. And then add your x's together. And there's your answer. Done. All right, the answer is 1/7. And there it is. All right. Now indicate whether the line passes through the points, increases, decreases, constant, or vertical. Now, if it's positive, it's increasing. If it's negative, it would be decreasing. If it's 0, then it would be horizontal. If it's undefined, then it's vertical. All right, those are all the different things. If it's m is equal to 0, it's horizontal. All right, and if it's undefined, meaning you can't divide by 0, 0 would be in the denominator. And I'm going to teach you how to find that pretty quick. I'm going to tell you a trick to find these pretty quick. Then I'll go ahead and continue this process, but it's pretty quick. So this would be an increasing value. All right, so when we go ahead and do question number 2, I wanted to point out that this one is unique in the fact that you have the y's are the same. When the y's are the same, all right, that means it would typically just be that you're going to subtract 4 from 4 and get 0. So it doesn't matter what the x's are. If the y's are the same, the value of it is always going to be 0. And if it's 0, then it's horizontal. So the slope is going to be 0, and it's going to be horizontal. All right. So let's lock that into our heads. All right, this one was increasing. But I just wanted to point out to you, okay? Now, whenever your values of x's are exactly the same, whenever your x's are exactly the same, you don't have to do anything. All right, if you're finding the slope and your x's are the same, then it's going to be undefined. The slope is undefined. All right, so that's a quick way of determining that it's vertical. All right, the line is vertical at that moment. So really quickly, remember that if y's are the same, 0. If x is the same, undefined. All right. Now this one doesn't have that, so we just go ahead and follow what I'm telling you. I'm going to do a couple more of here so you can follow how I do it. It's so easy. So again, change the signs to 1 point. I change the second one as that's my habit. I do it all mentally. I just change the signs quickly and then just add it, because you could do it pretty quick, right? Add these together. Add these together. There's my answer. Done. Just change the signs, add, boom. You know, you're done. There it is. -7/8. And this means it's decreasing. All right. Yeah, you're probably thinking, why was I not taught this way before? Well, it's not that it's not. I'm not teaching you this. I'm just not using all that language. I'm just giving you procedural steps. Change the sign 1 point, add the y's, add the x's, and you're done. And you can do a lot of things mentally. Now, it says write the point slope form. So what does point slope form mean? So point slope form means you have y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Now, thing is that you really don't need this, right? I'm doing this on purpose. It's not the way the formula is written, but I'm doing this on purpose to you. But x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And if you think about it, this is in fact the slope formula. If I take this and were to get it out of the denominator, I'd multiply both sides by this, wouldn't I? And so I would get exactly this same formula if I were to take this and just multiply both sides by that. All right. So I wanted you to be aware of that. Okay. So now, in this case, there's a point given. All right. Now the way to work this, the formula is a little different, and the reason why is because you have this. This is the way the formula looks, and the reason why is because they go ahead and say, well, when you go ahead and do this, the x sub 1 minus and then y sub 1 are what's replaced here. So if you put it in the formula, the m is given to us and the point is given to us, then all we got to do is drop it in. So y minus 3, because there's a negative sign there, right, equals, and then -8 x, and then -4, because there's a minus sign here. We take the opposite of the 4 that's right there. Okay. Now write the equation. I already did. Okay. Giving you exactly what's there. Write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Now, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And now, I personally think that all equations should be written in this form. I think this is, my opinion, a joke, because everything can be written in this form. Because why? You can put it in a calculator. You can, do things with it that you can't do with this. All right. So what you do is, to get it from here to there, is you got to do the distributive property. All right. And then you're going to go ahead and add 3 to both sides. And there's your equation in slope-intercept form. All right. And here it is. That's what we came up with. All right. So distributive property, isolate y. So now they give us the same concept here, but now they're giving us some fractions and things like that, but it won't deviate from here. So if I come over to here and take and use that, then I would go ahead and give you 2 equations. Y minus 11 equals, and then it's the slope of 5/4, and then it's x plus 18. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead, do the distributive property. Oh, by the way, that's the answer to the first question. All right. There it is. Now I go to do this derivative property. And then 4 doesn't go into 18, but 4 does get reduced by, I would go ahead and take 4, and I would do this. Watch this. That'd be negative, right? But then I would go ahead and take 4 and divide it by 2, and take 18 divided by 2. So that way I get 9, 9 and 2, and now I'm going to get 45 over 2. Okay, so you can do whatever way works for you. Okay, I mean, I'm doing it in my head a little bit, so I just like to keep it simple. All right, because I take this, divide it into that. Well, take 2 and divide it into 4, get 2, and 2 into 18 gives me 9. 9 times 5 gives me 45. That's how I did it. I mean, I know it's a little unconventional, and I apologize if that seems to be flying over your head, but a lot of you are stuck on fractions. So if you are stuck on fractions, just think about it in terms of this. How would you multiply this out? All right, and then that's what I just did. I just did it verbally to you. Sometimes a lot of you are like, I can't stand it when teachers teach this verbally. I can't follow it. Well, it's helpful to be able to mentally process these things so you don't make transcription errors and get frustrated with all the different things that you write. Anyway, that's me. So now I'm going to go ahead and add 11 to both sides. All right, and adding 11 to both sides is like adding 22 over 2, and that's still 11. And why did I do that? It's because obviously I want common denominators, right? So now it's negative 45 added to a positive 22. So in other words, I'm subtracting. So this was a heavy dose of fractions, interjection of fractions. That's what this one was about, right? So now if I subtract it, I get 23 over 2, and there's my answer. Okay, this one was a heavy hitter for some of you. All right, there's the answer. All right, fractions are sometimes people's worst enemy because there's so many rules, so many tricks, so many different things and components that make it what it is. So it's just a matter of working through them. Don't get intimidated by fractions. They're not that hard, but you got to practice if you don't know them, right? Always think that way. All right, so I've kind of beaten a dead horse here. And that's a weird expression, but it's I've gone over enough of these. You should be able to do it. So I'm going to go over it real quick. So here we have that. I've already done that answer. All right, and then the next part, I'm going to do a little bit more mentally. I'm going to say y equals 8x. This is negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. Done. All right, see, so I did that one more mentally. So I came up with both answers pretty quick. I don't know how you're feeling about the slopes yet. I mean, but the equation, it says write the point slope form of the equation of a line passing through a given point. So now we need the slope first, right? So we need a slope first. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate the slope. And mentally, I'm going to change the signs to the second one. So it's going to become negative 15 over positive 1. And then so my slope is negative 15. All right. Yeah, it's possible to do it that quick. All right. And then once we have that, then we have to use either one of the 2 points. It doesn't matter which one we use. All right. So, and I assure you that it doesn't make a difference. But anyway, I'm going to use the second one because I just can. So y, and then we have minus, because it doesn't tell us which point to use for the point slope form. you just need to find the slope and just one of the two things. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, now notice here they have whatever this is. Okay, yeah. So I went and gave you this equation, all right, but you can use this equation. You can use the first one. You take the opposite of 11, and then you have the negative 15 and the opposite of 5, or negative 5 that is. And then the one I gave you was right here. Okay. Now you go ahead, no matter which one of the two you use points, it's going to give you the same line, slope of an intercept, slope intercept form. So we're going to go ahead and just isolate. So this is going to be negative 15x. This is going to be a rather large number because of the 15. So you could just take a calculator and just go ahead and calculate it. And just do 15 times 6. And that's negative, right? So then you get negative. And then since you have negative and you're adding, you're going to get negative 86. And that's our answer we're looking for. All right, so I came up with the right answer. And that's how you do those. Okay, so I'll leave you with being able to complete this. Now, notice how there's video here, and there's a couple videos here. If you need more support, then by all means, go ahead and use those videos. I've already shown you how to do it. All right, you've got to be able to operate on some, simple procedures. Okay. Now this is the x-intercept. Okay, so now if it's giving you, it says the x-intercept. This one's a little different in that because it's giving you an x-intercept. What the heck does that mean when it says an x-intercept? Well, do you know that when you're given an x-intercept, that your y value is 0? And all they're doing is a different way of giving you 2 points. And you go back to what we've done here. Okay. So, I mean, now that I've done that, right, I mean, I'll go ahead and do negative 19 and then divide it by 28. Okay. That becomes positive. That stays positive. You add them together. All right. Now you have that. You go ahead and go through the procedure by taking either one of the 2 points, preferably take this one. Because when you do that one, right, when you have the x-intercept here and y equals 0, so then you're going to get y equals, and then you're going to go ahead and then say, well, negative 19 over 28, and then you have x minus 19. So then that would be one of the equations you would have, okay? And this is the one that I used right there, okay? So that's the one that I came up with. I don't need to do both of them. I don't need to do that one. And then in order to finish this off, you go ahead and just do the distributive property. Just multiply it out, and you get this, okay? So it becomes 19 times 19, basically. Okay? So that one's pretty easy, in my opinion. I hope you understand what I mean by this when I say it becomes, because all you got to do is do negative 19 over 28 times x, right? And then when you multiply this times this, it's negative 19 over 28 times negative 19 over 1. So then this right here gives you positive 361 over 28. I mean, that's how that came about. I mean, if you don't trust yourself, just go ahead and take 19 times 19. Okay. I mean, so obviously you don't know what 19 times 19 is. So just go ahead and use your calculator. All right, now it says identify the slope. The slope is going to be -2 here. That seems really simple, right? And identify the y-intercept. The y-intercept, it doesn't say once in a coordinate point, but nowhere in here does it say, but most of the time they want it in a coordinate point. But since it didn't specify, and here the answer is -3, all they're asking you to do is identify this piece of the y equals mx plus b form, the slope-intercept form. All right. Now the x-intercept is when y equals 0. So in other words, what they want you to do is go ahead and say g of x equals 0. So then the x-intercept is going to be where you isolate the x now. So that's going to be 3 equals -2x, which then means x equals -3/2. And that's, you can't get that from just by looking at it like you do these two values. All right, so there we have it. Sorry, I keep on falling off the page. Hello. All right, so anyway, there we go. Okay, so I give some easy strategies for that. So just got to remember, all right, now sketch the graph, all right. So sketching the graph of a linear function, the way you do that, do I have enough things? Since I have graphing paper. The way you do the graphing is really simple. Just to give you a heads up. This is the procedures that you use. All you do is first graph your y-intercept. Here's your y-intercept. So graph it first, 1, 2, 3, put a little dot there. All right. And then going ahead and using the slope, you find another point. So down 2 over 1. Because understand that this is a slope, and it's an integer value. So you're just going to go ahead and put it over 1. So it's down 2, 1, 2 over 1. Now that you have that, you go ahead and graph it accordingly, by a straight line. But preferably use a straight edge. But you have technology here, so it doesn't make a difference. So there's the answer we're looking for, though. Okay. And that value of x being -3/2, which is -1.5, you can see, look at that, even in my graph, it's right exactly there at 1.5. But it's like that right here too. Okay. So that's that. It's pretty simple to graph it. So the slope is going to be -1/4. The y-intercept is 2. And of course, find the y-intercept. That's a little bit of work. You have to just go ahead and isolate or put this at 0. Then you're going to go ahead and do 2 times -4 is -8. All right. Oh, yeah, when you subtract 2, it's going to be -2. So then that's +8. Yep. All right, so you can do that. That's why, I mean, I'm doing it quickly in my head, but I did mess up the sign because when I brought it over, I didn't switch the sign. So anyway, it's negative. And negative times negative is positive. So now we just go ahead and graph it. All right, and you use the same strategies I did before. Now with this one, you're going to go to +2. I'll just do it on the same graph. Okay, so you go to +2, 1, 2, and then you're going to go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, and your graph looks like that now. Okay, so you have that. Now they're saying, hold on, I'm going to double check this. Yeah, it says it's +2, and they say that x-intercept is 8. Oh, that's because I'm being an idiot. I'm glad I went over this. Sorry, I actually jerked that one up. Sorry, it's down 1 over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I totally jerked that one up. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why it's good to. I'm like, I questioned why. Where's the x-intercept? Why is? Because I did it wrong. It's always vertical first, 1, and then over 4. All right. See, so that's why you're given the x-intercept, so you don't screw it up like I just about did. Okay. So hey, it's always good to double check your work. And there is what I came up with. Okay. Yep. See, you always have reasons for why you're doing things you're doing. Don't dismiss things, okay? Helps you do a double check. And because our brains, all right, we're humans and we mess up sometimes. And that's okay. All right, now it says for this one, identify the slope. All right. Now, I'd like to give you a little strategy here when it comes down to certain things. I like seeing some ways of doing things. And when I see something written in what I call general form, all right, sometimes standard form or whatever. Yeah, see the linear written in standard form. Okay, so it's standard form. General form is where you put the C on the other side. So standard form. We're going to go ahead and solve for what, the y in this case. So if I solve for y, all right, I get this. I'm going to bring this over to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to get negative ax, and then I'm going to slide the c over, and then I'm going to go ahead, and that's negative, by the way. That's a negative. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by b. This will go away, leaving me with y equals negative a over b, and then c over b. Now, what that means is m, and when it's written in standard form, is equal to negative a over b. So in that case, whatever I see is in a, I'm going to take the opposite of it, so it's going to be 10, divided by the b value where it's sitting, in this case, 5. So then 10 divided by 5 is 2. So my slope is 2. Now, granted, you could have moved all these pieces in that anyway, just so you know. But I now have the slope of 2. Okay. So if you can remember this formula for slope when it's written in standard form, then you can go ahead and quickly do it in your head. And you don't even need to write anything down. Okay. So now it says identify the y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is when x equals 0. So if x equals 0, that negative 10 goes away, and you're left with 5y equals negative 50, which means y is equal to negative 10. So it's got to be then 0, because that's what x is, negative 10. And that's, they want you to write it in an ordered pair. So that's where 0, negative 10 is in. Now the x-intercept is when y equals 0. So you're going to throw away the y, or not throw away the y, but throw away the y, and then keep the x. All right, so then we have that, because remember, y is equal to 0 for the x-intercept, so that's why I throw away the y and what's ever multiplying it. And then you're going to go ahead and say x equals positive 5. So now we have x is 5, y is 0, and so it is. That's our coordinate point for the x-intercept. Now let h be a function of x, and rewrite the linear function or equation using function notation. So now the thing is that we don't have, or wait a second. We have all the pieces. We have the y-intercept and we have the slope. So they want us to write it in function of h. So then do h, and then of x, h of x equals 2x, because that's our slope, and then our y-intercept is negative 10. So that's going to be the equation that we need to write, all right, for that particular section right there. Now to graph it, it would be negative 10, start at negative 10, and then go up to 1, 2 over 1, and then we have our answer. Okay, and it looks like what I've got there. Okay. All right. Now, we went through a lot of different components of linear functions now. It says write the point slope form of an equation line that satisfies the given condition. Also rewrite the equation of the line such that it's in slope-intercept form. Okay. So now, when it gives us this point, well, first of all, it's giving us 2 points. It says that the input is -17. So it's saying -17, and then the output is -4. So we have that coordinate point, and then likewise, we have the coordinate point of input -15, output 20. So now we have this coordinate points, we can do what we did before. And I'll leave you to doing that. I just needed to point out how this is a little tiny bit different in giving you a point. And I'll leave you to figure that out. If you need a video support, by all means, use that video support. But you should be able to get what we've done before. I mean, remembering, I kind of like the slope form that I've been sharing with you. So it's -24 over 2. And then so you get -12 as your slope. All right. Again, I hope that you're picking up how fast I did that, but that would be actually negative, so that would be positive. All right, because it'd be +15 added to -17, and that'd be -2. That's why. Okay. So now we have +12. You have the use of either one of those coordinate points. So you would go ahead and do y plus 4 equals 12 times x plus 17. And that's one of the 2 equations you would give. Okay. And this goes along with this one I've done. Okay. And then to put it in slope-intercept form, you do the distributive property and then subtract 4 from it. All right. Or subtract the 4. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, I don't know what 12 times 17 is off the top of my head. I don't care either. Times 17. And then I'm going to -4 from it. -4. All right. So I get 200. And that's positive. All right. And here we have our answer. Okay. Now, I've just done that for you pretty quick, didn't I? All right. So they're really giving you a lot of practice on this concept, right? So this is the same identical thing as I'm doing here, and I've done a lot of these for you already. Okay. All right. So then right here you're given this. Now remember, look at this. The x's are the same. All right. When the x's are the same, all right, then that means you're going to be getting undefined. So our equation for this would be then x equals 13 whenever you're given undefined slope. All right, the equation starts with x equals and whatever values that are repeating here. All right, watch. I mean, see how that easy that is? I'm glad I went over this problem with you. This one was pretty easy when I'm done with that problem. As you can see, I knew it was undefined because the x is the same. And then whenever it is, the x is the same and it's undefined, it starts with x equals and whatever value that is in the x position is what you're going to set it equal to. All right? That is a golden rule for that one. And likewise, if it was, I mean, maybe there's a problem here that will do that, hopefully. But if it's the y's are the same, okay? The y's are the same, it'd be 0 slope, and it would start with y equals whatever's in the y position. Okay, I mean, let's just say hypothetically this was this. I'm kind of making up something right now. All right, the y's are the same. The slope would be 0, and it would start with y equals 5. That's how easy that is for if it was where you had the y's being the same. So identify the slope. The slope is obviously, in this case, the slope is 0. Okay, the slope is 0. Whenever you do not have a value for x, or you don't see an x, that means that it is 0 times x, and then the y-intercept is 5/2. Okay, So then you have 5 halves for that, which 5 halves is 2.5, but you can put it as 5 divided by 2 and get it right. And the x-intercept is setting y equals 0, and then the value of that means that if we go ahead and have it where it's like that, all right, there is no x-intercept. That's a funny way of writing it, but there is no x-intercept when you have a y equals some value. And why is that? Let's talk about that for just a second. When you have a horizontal line, and let's just say this is 5 halves, all right, how is it that it's going to have an x-intercept? All right, and that's why this it seems a little wonky when you're doing all this. It's like, how do I get a x-intercept? You can't do it. All right, and then so you look at this and you see that it's a horizontal line at 2.5. Okay. Now this is the same idea. This is y equals. So this is a horizontal line. So this is slope 0. The y-intercept is going to be at that same value. All right, and the x-intercept there isn't going to be. All right. Now this is a vertical line. So anytime it's x equals, just like I had here, x equals, it's undefined. And the y-intercept, okay, there's not going to be a y-intercept because it's a vertical line. And the x-intercept is going to be the same value as what's there, 3. All right, and it's going to be a vertical line at that value, at 3. So again, there's some strong videos here, but it really is easy. It's just a matter of committing this to memory, but it's practice and getting it in your head. All right, and then maybe rewatching this video a couple times. Now, you have solving this right here for x. Okay, so in other words, subtracting 26 from both sides, dividing it by 13, and you get 2. All right, of course it's -2, which represents the vertical line. Okay, this one represents a horizontal line, so you're going to go ahead and get a +2 on that one, and then that represents horizontal line. And so when you graph them, all right, then you graph them and you get 2 cross-sectionals. All right, this is a cross-sectional, I should say. All right, that's it. Given the equation, or given the equation of each line in 5 graphs below, make sure to scroll down to see all the graphs. All right, give your answers in slope-intercept form. All right, so this one's x equals 4. All right, this one, all you got to do is y-intercept. All right, find the y-intercept. Find out what your next coordinate point would be, which is right here. So it's up 2 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2/5. So it's y equals 2/5 minus 3. All right, so that's how you got to just look at it. I mean, it's just find how high you're going and how far you're going. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for that cross sectionals, like where 1, 2, 3. All right, when I go up and over, all right, it's crossing over that coordinate point right there, wherever that is where I'm interested in and getting to. So how do I get there? Go up 2 over 5. And that's why 2/5. And why -3 is because that's our y-intercept, where we're crossing over the y-axis. Here, I'm going to go ahead and try to find, there's a cross-sectional right there. See how I did that? I'm going down the line. I'm trying to find the cross-sectionals, and that's a cross-sectional. So I'm going 1, 2, 3. So down 3 over how many? 2. So I'm going to go ahead and say y equals -3 halves, and then times x, and I'm crossing over where it says 5. So there's my answer. Okay. So then this one is going through 0. All right. So that's my y-intercept. All I got to do is say y equals whatever the slope is. So there's a cross-sectional. So it's going up 2 over 3. Up 2 over 3. And I'm going to get x. And that's my answer. All right. This is a horizontal line where y equals 0. All right. There's the answer. All right. Rewrite the given standard form of linear equation. All right. Now, it wants us to write it in slope-intercept form. Okay. That's what they're asking us to do. So in order to do that, we just bring over the 14 and then divide both sides by -7. All right, so then we have that. Good. Slope 2, y-intercept -4, and then it's going to become 2 for the x-intercept, and then we go ahead and graph it. I hope you understand how to graph it now. You start at -4, go up 2 over 1. All right. All right, I think that I've covered a lot of this. All right, identify the 2 points. So they're asking you to do that, and then rewrite the equation. So write the equation aligned to this point. So you're going to go ahead and identify the 2 points. You can identify them by just looking at this right here. All right, as -4, 3, -7, -10, and then come up with your 2 points, and then find your slope, find your y-intercept, and that's how you do it. All right. So find slope, use one of the points that you're given. All right. So that's what you're going to do. All right. You get one of these answers. You rewrite it in slope-intercept form. All right. And then you go ahead and make it in function notation, which is changing the y to f of x. That's all they're asking you to do. There's nothing else they're asking you to do. Change the y to f of x. Determine the y-intercept. Let y equals 0, and then solve that. Okay. And then the y-intercept would be obviously this one. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to let you guys have at it. All right. There's nothing else I need to do. Oh no, they want us to do. Okay, so then we're looking at parallel and perpendicular lines now. All right, the solid line graph below is such, the equation. The dashed line is parallel to the graph. So if it's parallel, it has the same identical slope. All right, write the equation. So now what we're doing is writing the equation of this. I need to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines real quick. So now we're looking at parallel, meaning that our equation that for the next one, all right, probably is going to, yeah, I don't know what they want us to do. I'm just going to write it as y equals, but when we're talking about this one, our next equation is going to be the same identical slope. And going through, I mean, they kind of gave it away by giving us the equation or the graph of this, but it's going to be -1 is our y-intercept. So that's the equation that we're looking for. Now they gave it to us and they want us to put it in point slope form, okay? Because they went ahead and drew out this point, okay? So again, y, take the opposite of the 4 and you get -4, taking the same slope, and then we're going to go ahead and put the opposite of 1, okay? So they're just identifying that coordinate point. which was pretty easy to identify. That's how that problem came to be. And writing it in slope-intercept form, like I said, is pretty easy when you can just look at the graph, because it's crossing over -1, and we already know that the slope is 5. Okay. Now, it wants us to just, since it says g of as a function of x, so change the y into g of x, and that's all they want us to do for the second part here, or actually third. Okay. Now, without interacting with you, I don't know if what I'm saying is clear. So if you have any questions about what it is I'm doing, then just email me or your instructor, of course. But you have also these supportive videos that can go along with it. Now, when you're perpendicular, it means you're an opposite reciprocal slope. So it gives us an equation. What's the opposite reciprocal of 2/1? And so opposite means take what, if it's positive, it turns to negative. And if it's 2/1, it becomes 1/2. It's take the reciprocal. So that's what that means. So our equation so far is this. That's what our equation is. And because we can see this physically, we can see that it's -5. I mean, it's because they gave it away a little bit when they're giving us the graph. Now, that's under assumption, right? So what they want you to avoid assumptions. So what they do is give you the coordinate point, all right, of 3, -4, and then so you just put in y plus 4 equals -1/2 x, open parenthesis x, and then it's the opposite of 3. All right, so now we have that coordinate point, or that equation, okay? Then we now can go ahead and get the other equation, which I already did, and because I'm a little bit reckless, I got it wrong, okay? Let me see what I did wrong. This is going through -5. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. That's interesting. That is very interesting. That this is it, the dashed line. Yeah, the solid line is that one. Dashed line is perpendicular. That's interesting. Oh! I was looking at the x-intercept. I am so sorry. I'm supposed to look at the y-intercept, and that is absolutely 2.5. Man, I would have gotten that one wrong because I'm being too hasty. It's the y-intercept. Why am I looking at the x-intercept? All right. So that's -2/5. No, not 2/5, 5/2. So this is why, this is a pure example of why you want to just go ahead and do it the right way, because false assumption leads you to making mistakes. So just go ahead and take it from here, and I'll do it again for the sake of argument that you want to be careful. So just go ahead and do 1/2 x, and then plus, then you multiply it out, right? You get this, and then you subtract 8/2, and that's y, because you're subtracting 4, you get y equals -1/2 x, and this gives you -5/2. So that's that. And you know what? And again, I could have cheated a little bit and put down -2.5 right here if I just looked at it and not looked at the 5. But anyway, looked over here, and also recognize that 5/2 is 2.5, by the way. So just to recognize that. And then your y, the x-intercept, now I can get back to the x-intercept is -5. All right. Oh, they want us to write it in the function of that, so the x-intercept. But anyway, you get g of x for that. So that's just rewriting it with the function notation. So I made a couple mistakes there. So apologize. And it happens. I corrected my mistakes though. Okay. Don't you go judging me. You make mistakes too. It's not funny, but yeah, it is. You got to laugh at mistakes, by the way. Don't get so hard on yourself, and don't get hard on me. It's just the nature of how this works. You make mistakes, you fix them. All right, now, writing a parallel. Now, when they don't give you any graphs, you'll now know that it's right point slope form of equation of a line that's parallel to the function below. So the function below is right here, and passing through the point. Now, this is general form. Again, standard form where C is on the other side, but we don't care about the C. All we care about is the slope. So you can go ahead and use the same exact identical formula that I gave to you earlier. Is you take the opposite of A, which then leads us to the opposite of 5 is -5 divided by 6. Okay. And then that leaves us then with the slope, and if it's parallel, it means the same. So then we can go ahead and do the point. All right, so y plus 7 equals -5 6 of x plus 2. That's the equation in point slope form. Okay, got that one right. Good thing. All right. Now write the equation in slope intercept form. We would go ahead and multiply. I purposely left the 7 off. And then I'm going to go ahead and multiply. That gives us this. So multiply that to that. All right. Now I have 7 brought over. It's going to become negative. And then it's going to become 21 over 3. So I'm going to get now my equation y equals f, or it's going to be -5 over 6. Now, are you guys understanding why I put -21 over 3? I mean, because it was a 7 for crying out loud. Why am I putting 21 over 3? Well, what is 21 over 3 equal? Yes, it equals 7. And remember, when you bring it over to the other side, it becomes its opposite, right? Why I put negative? Because I've eliminated the use of having to write down the plus 7 over here and then rewrite it for a third time. That's ridiculous. So I went ahead, did the distributive property. When I did 5 over 6 times 2. The 2 knocks down the 6 to 3. And that becomes 1. And 5 times 1 is 5. So I did that pretty quick because it's possible. If you can't do it quick, then use your calculator. There's no judgment. Just make sure you do it right. I mean, get it right. All right. And if you want to know how to use your calculator for fractions, watch this. So alpha y equals fraction negative. It's hard to see. I apologize, but you're gonna have to focus your eyes on that. Okay. Anyway, then we got -5 over 6 times, and then alpha y equals fraction, and then 2 over 1. And look at that. It's hard to see. I apologize, but again, I'm trying to give you focus on this. So let me see. Focus. All right. See that? Look at how neat that is. It gives you all of it, and then you wonder where I'd get that from. All right. Now you have that. Okay. So pretty neat. And if you wanted to, all right, and if you're not that comfortable with fractions and such, as I said before, you can take that answer that I have there and you can subtract 7 from it. And look at what it gave us. 26 over 3. All right. And look at what we're going to come up with. All right. Again, some of you really are not comfortable with fractions, and there's always a solution. Where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, so bang. Okay. Yes, I know you hate fractions, but don't get so upset with it. Okay, you can figure it out, because there's the answer. And I just showed you how to use the calculator. The calculator is beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Use that calculator. Now, the next part, I mean, I think it's a repetitive nature. It's just all you got to do is put h of x in the same answer. I mean, that's not very much thinking going on there. All right. And again, perpendicular, opposite, reciprocal. All right. So I'm not going to walk you through every single part again. All I'm going to tell you that you just take and remember the formula that I've given you before, and that is this. All right. Taking that, you get this. You get opposite of 3 is -3, and then divided by -4, you get 3/4. Opposite reciprocal of that means you're going to get -4/3. And then you have the coordinate point, or the point slope form is going to be that. All right, so I've given you that for the equation. So I've given you that part so far. All right, now you need to go ahead and write it in slope-intercept form by practicing how to use the calculator for the fractions and generating your answer of that. Well, this one, darn it, it doesn't give you any fractions. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. So you get 12, and then you minus 7 from it, it gives you 5. Darn it, that was an easy one compared to what I did here. This one was tough because it's so much fractions. This one's not so bad. And then writing the function in terms of h of x. All right, I've given you a lot of direction on this. You want to go ahead and do perpendicular, parallel, and that means same stuff, same slopes. Now it says given the below the description of 2 lines, okay, slope of line 1 is, you looking at for line 1, you got to look for the slope. You can calculate the slope. Are the lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? If it's the same, it's parallel. If it's opposite reciprocal, it's perpendicular. If it's neither of those two things, then it's neither. Okay, and the answer is, in this case, lines is parallel to one another because they're the same. Okay, so that's all they're asking for that, and that's all their tasking you to do. It's just find the slopes and compare them. Okay, and I've already done enough of this. All right, this one was a little longer video because there's quite a few questions and a lot of concepts. So I hope that you take advantage of it and be able to be successful. All right, take care. I'll see you in the next video.